Fantasy Football Warriors, here we are. We're back. Waiver Wire, week cinco. No, wait. Seis. That's right. Week 6. Waiver Wire, bringing it to you. The Tank Sinatra, Eddie Bravo. This week's going to be a little more exciting than last week. I think we have more exciting options here for the Waiver Wire. So, we are going to bring it to you right now.
All right, first off, teams on bye. Chiefs, Rams, Dolphins, and Vikings. Plan accordingly. Obviously, there are some fantasy football players that you're likely rostering and starting every week, so you'll have to scramble. With that in mind, make sure you're approaching the waiver wire with that in mind, right? If you're going to have to sacrifice a Justin Jefferson, etc., from your lineup, make sure you're putting in waiver claims. Make sure you're trying to fill the holes in your roster this week. And when you're making start-sit evaluations, we will be taking that in mind as well, as that certain teams will be short a player or two and will have to plug in maybe lower end options than normal. But
yeah, you probably have some significant ones here. You know, your Kelseys, your Mahomes, your Kyron Williams, right?
Even though you should not be starting Mahomes anymore.
Your Dolphins, maybe not really. Vikings, Aaron Jones, right? Even though he's, hurt at the moment. Your Sam Darnold, he didn't have a great week 5, but week 1 through 4 have been fantastic. Justin Jefferson, obviously, right? So plan accordingly, and just remember that sometimes during the bye weeks, sometimes it's better to just take the L, right? Yeah. Especially if you got a bunch of buys, just back to back to back to back. Your whole team's on bye. You know what? Sometimes it's just better. Take the L, get past that bye week, and just hit the next week strong rather than trying to scramble, and find pieces to win you that week, sacrificing others in the process. Sometimes it's just better to take the L.
Absolutely.
Take Bigsby. Let's start it off hot.
Our high-end options here. 1 second. I've got to pull up the stats on my phone here. The same slide you guys are seeing, just because I'm a little blind at the moment. I can't quite read it. All right. Tank Bigsby is our first option here. He's been terrific this season after a lackluster first season in the NFL, but he's really come alive and been significantly better than Travis Etienne on a per-touch basis.
This week, last week already.
Most weeks at this point.
Yeah, had more carries than Etienne, looking better doing it.
He's currently first in yards per carry across all running backs. Every single one in the league with 8.03 yards per carry. So he's been doing it. He's been playing well, and I can't imagine he's going anywhere, right? Travis Etienne hasn't been playing himself into a significant role. Last week he maintained his role in the passing game, and I expect that probably continues. But as far as the ground game goes, I think this is probably Bigsby's backfield for the most part. Now, with some of the occurrences that have occurred this season, namely DeAndre Swift, where it looked like it was going to be the Roshan Johnson, he was taking the job, and then DeAndre Swift decided,
came back. Yeah.
I'm going to start playing well again. So, just understand that this isn't certain, but
right.
He's been trending in the right direction.
The possibility that Etienne could reemerge, could turn into a split backfield. Who knows?
Yep. But touches have been mostly trending up, and last week he had 100% of the touches within the 10-yard line, so he's also getting those high-value red zone 10-yard line, goal line touches right now. They've been trending up for a few weeks, and last week he got 100% of them. So the primary on-the-ground back, I think, is kind of becoming Tank Bigsby, and I think he's played himself well enough into that role.
Yeah, I think he's definitely... the drum has been beating for Tank Bigsby all off season, yep. And the signs have been there, right? Where there's been this constant whispers in the background, right? Bigsby, he's coming. He's working himself up. Oh, he's gonna, he may take over this backfield by the time we hit mid-season or who knows what, and it's definitely leaning there. And look, man, if he's out there, go get him. He is worth the stash.
If you recall, in the offseason, that was why I was off of Travis Etienne, is because as early as he was going, his volume and everything was a sure thing.
Right.
And just following the offseason indications is not only did Travis Etienne say it, but the OC and the coaching, the entire indication was they don't want to have to give Etienne that many touches. They didn't want to have to do it last season,
Right.
but Tank Bigsby sucked last season. He made significant strides this season. Like, the signs were there that Travis Etienne was not going to be this bell cow running back. Like, they
Right.
wanted to split this backfield and get Tank Bigsby involved. And so it's come to fruition, and he's completely outplaying Travis Etienne at the moment.
And really, if you think about where Dougie Fresh is sitting right now, is he sitting in the hot seat?
Absolutely.
Is Tank Bigsby possibly his saving grace?
No.
No.
I don't think a running back saves him. But anyway, moving on. Tyrone Tracy of the New York Giants. Obviously, Devin Singletary was out
Another
this week.
one where we had the drum beat in the offseason. Everyone was happy with him. The talent was there. They wanted to get him involved. And
what you love to see, too, is what he excelled at as a running back in college was his vision, his patience as a runner. You immediately can see those things if you go back and watch his carries. Those immediately applied over at the NFL level. He looked great, patient, explosive, and he's just got really, really good vision. He maneuvers really, really well. And so it was really good to see. And obviously he went off this week for 129 yards and did so at 7.2 yards per carry as well.
Whew.
So 18 carries, 129 yards. Beautiful. He looked great. Devin Singletary in his previous 4 games has not hit over 100 rushing yards once in the season. Tyrone Tracy didn't in his first start. I will say Eric Gray made the start, and then he had that fumble, and Tyrone Tracy completely took over and did not give it back, right? So
fantasy is about talent and opportunity.
So I think moving forward, he already beat out Eric Gray, and I think, honestly, as good as Devin Singletary's been, I think Tyrone Tracy at this point, if he continues on this path, could just take over this backfield entirely. Obviously, they drafted him. They believe in him. That's what you want, is your rookies, your young guys on cheap contracts contributing early, right? So if Tyrone Tracy is showing that he can do that, I don't think there's any reason that they don't give him the keys over the season, right?
Absolutely.
So, obviously we'll see when Devin Singletary comes back how that shakes out. But Tyrone Tracy is a priority stash because I think it's very possible he can take over this backfield. And they didn't trust him a whole ton in the passing game this first week and haven't really a ton in the season. And I think that's just because of concerns with run blocking, right, or pass blocking. So we'll kind of see there. But he was a former wide receiver, converted.
Yes.
He's obviously got pass catching
little
chops
nugget for everyone over
right?
there.
So he can go in and step in and be really, really good in all phases of the field, get his pass blocking up. And coaching staff, everyone drafted this guy. They wanted him on the team. So
sky's the limit for Tyrone Tracy.
Definitely good things.
2 big stashes right there, right out the gate. Tank Bigsby, Tyrone Tracy, go find him.
Absolutely.
Ty Chandler, different story.
Aaron Jones is hurt. He might be rostered. And they're on bye this week, obviously, so we'll kind of see. I believe it's a hamstring for Aaron Jones. It is possible he misses more time. Maybe he's fine after the bye. We'll kind of see. But if Ty Chandler's on the wire, priority, not priority in the sense that I would take him over these 2 guys, obviously. But if you need a fill-in over the next few weeks, I would be adding Ty Chandler. He looked good last season, plenty efficient. Obviously, he kind of struggled this game, but we have a longer sample size, right, of last season of him performing pretty well. And he got the lion's share of the touches this week with Aaron Jones out. I'm sure he'll continue to do so. So you got yourself a good RB2 option for as long as Aaron Jones is out.
Yeah, and even going back to our draft videos and talking running back handcuffs, like Ty Chandler was always someone that you looked at as, Aaron Jones does have a tendency to miss some games, right?
I believe he's missed at least 3 games of the last 3 years or something like that.
So Ty Chandler was always someone that you should have had on your roster, especially if you had already drafted Aaron Jones.
Yeah,
for sure. So
moving on, Josh Downs. Obviously, we've talked about Josh Downs for like 2 or 3 straight weeks in the waiver wire video.
boy, he's
It-
doing it.
It is possible he's still on the wire. If he is, please, please, please add him.
Get
All
him.
throughout the offseason, he was reportedly the best wide receiver in camp.
Get him.
He's immediately come back and leads the team in target share over the last 3 weeks since he's been back with a 27.4% target share, and he's got 19.1 fantasy points over the last 2 weeks per game.
Get him.
He's just performing very well. He's kind of the wide receiver 1 on this team at the moment since he's been back, and for as long as Joe Flacco is playing, you can expect that to continue. We'll see. I think Richardson should be back this week. We'll see how that kind of
honestly
works out.
I think that Josh Downs can only make Anthony Richardson better.
But can Anthony Richardson make Josh Downs better?
That's up for debate.
We'll see. Because, I mean, the problem with Anthony Richardson is the accuracy. And it's the fact that he can't hit the easy passes. He'll go and lay out a 70-yarder perfect, then like a 10-yard pass he'll fucking miss. Josh Downs is not running 70-yarders. So if there's anyone that's going to suffer the most, it's Pittman and Downs from the accuracy issues because they're running your traditional routes, whereas your Alec Pierces are the ones that's going to benefit from a guy who can only hit a 70-yarder down the field, right? So we'll see how it works out, but Josh Downs was a good prospect. He's been highly ascending since his rookie year last season, had a great camp, and has come in and just demanded targets better than anyone else on the team, and I think it's just priority ad.
He was one of my late gems, going back again to our drafting videos and everything, so it's good to see.
Juju Smith-Schuster with Rashee Rice out.
What year are we in right now that we're
Juju,
talking
Kareem
about
Hunt.
Juju on the wire, Kareem Hunt
last week?
What year are we in? Holy moly.
Anyway, Juju Smith-Schuster. Rice is officially done for the regular season. He might be back in the postseason, but that does not matter for our purposes. Done for the regular season. You can drop him. And with Rashee Rice out, Juju Smith-Schuster led the team with a 24% target sheet, or was second on the team with a 24% target share. And he ended with 7 receptions for 130 yards. So
you want a piece of this offense. Again, going back to betting on offenses versus players, right? You want a piece of that offense, and if Juju's going to be getting, a good portion of it, even if it's Juju, go get him.
Mid-tier options. Jalen Wright. All right. Jalen Wright has honestly been playing a little more efficiently than Devon Achane has over the last few weeks, but I'm sure much of that has to do with the fact that Jalen Wright's like the third string.
Right.
You always got to factor that in when you're evaluating starters versus backups, is defenses aren't stacking the box against backups, right? They're not taking them seriously, so that's going to lend itself to more efficient games for the backups. But it's no secret that Devon Achane has not been very great over the last several weeks. Just sad to see, but before he got injured in this game, it was turning out to be his most efficient game since like week 2.
Right.
He had 3 carries for 18 yards at 6 yards a pop, right? He looked like he was going to get going this game. Goes out with a concussion. So with the Dolphins on bye, we'll see what happens because Tua could be back soon. Devon Achane probably is back after the bye, I would imagine. And I don't think he's done anything to warrant not starting him. I mean, it was just a couple weeks ago that Mike McDaniel was saying how Devon Achane just always gives them reasons to give him more touches. Like, straight up said that in week 2. It's only been a few weeks. I doubt that's changed his entire mind and everything, especially given the fact that they've had an entire void on the quarterback play, which has crushed this offense from functioning at an NFL average level, right? Yeah. So this is kind of a lower-end option as just a talented rookie who's been playing well. In relief, Mostert still got the start. He's still
Mostert's still there.
Got the majority of the carries, the touches, all the stuff. Jalen Wright played second fiddle here for 13 carries and 86 yards. Pretty good efficiency there, but he was still the second back, and they're on bye this week, so I can't imagine you're going to be able to cash in this week.
Yeah, no.
Because Achane will probably be back right after the bye, right?
Right.
Unlikely he misses 2 weeks over a concussion.
And again, Mostert's
he's not
Tua
Tagovailoa.
So Jalen Wright really...
Just a stash.
Kind of a stash, kind of a stash, and, with Mostert and Achan's reliability, I guess, concerns, right? He's probably someone that could maybe come through for you in who knows what week, but if that happens, if the stars align and it's that perfect scenario and you have Jalen Wright, it's going to be a good day.
Absolutely. Roshan Johnson, 2 touchdowns this week. He's had 7+ opportunities per game over the last 3 weeks. However, he only played 31% of the snaps last week, so this is kind of another one where, yeah, it's a fine stash, but DeAndre Swift has played himself back into a role.
Yes,
Rashawn Johnson's carries and snaps have actually regressed over the week, so this is not someone I would be targeting aggressively. Some of your league mates might because they saw the box score and there's 2 touchdowns, but I think that's one of the biggest things you got to think about is not evaluating based on points, but on usage, the utilization, the underlying metrics here, and the play to really assess whether something is
happening or not.
Yeah, and so, yes, there was 2 touchdowns, but he's actually hasn't really seen a bump in his goal line usage or red zone usage. He's been used about the same over the last few weeks, so there's nothing really here indicating anything's happening with Roshan Johnson. He got lucky with 2 touchdowns. A fine stash, but nothing to prioritize.
Be careful when you're chasing the points.
Absolutely. Jalen Tolbert. Talked about. I think I talked about Jalen Tolbert week 2 or week 1.
Yeah.
He's been performing pretty well over the last few weeks. He is now the wide receiver 2 on Dallas with Brandon Cooks sideline, which he can be out. I think I saw like another couple weeks. There's not a clear timeline, but he's expected to be sidelined for a little bit. So you've got yourself a solid flex option here with Jalen Tolbert. He's averaging 13.6 fantasy points per game over the last month and has out-targeted Lamb twice within that span, too.
How about that?
Jalen Tolbert's been playing well. I think this is his third or 4th season in the NFL. He's played himself into a role with Brandon Cooks out. He's got value here and has been playing pretty well. So solid flex option if he is still on the wire. Theo Johnson. Quality prospect coming out of the draft.
Yes, he was.
Solid tight end. And we're kind of seeing this manifest here with this week. He caught all 5 of his targets for 48 yards. Solid 9 points. Nothing crazy, but rather be early than late, right?
Yes.
So he had an 80% route participation this week, which is a season high, and that is a very, very good route participation for a tight end. So that's positive. And he's been running more routes than all of the tight ends on the Giants roster all season long. Starting week 1 all the way to here, he's been running more routes, significantly more routes too. The route participation hit a season high this week. He had some production going. Obviously, he probably got a little bit of a boost with Neighbors out, but he's been running a lot of routes. I'm sure the intention is they want him to be a part of the passing attack, right? We just talked about with Tyron Tracy how you want your rookies to show that they can contribute early. You don't want to have to rely on free agents. You want to build the team with your draft picks. So far, this draft class has been proving to be very good. Not just Malik Neighbors. We had Tyron Tracy. Theo Johnson this week had a productive game. People on defensive side of the ball. But so if they can get Theo Johnson going, I'm sure they want to. And I think after the concussion that Malik Neighbors suffered last week, I'm sure they're going to want other people to get involved too. Not saying that Malik Neighbors is going to go down at all. He's way too talented and he's going to be the focal point of the offense. But if they can get someone like Theo Johnson to help move the chains as well, take some pressure off of Malik Neighbors, I think that'll be a much more functioning offense, right? Yeah. But anyway, that's the theory here. The underlying usage has been going up, has been strong, trending in the right direction. Now we got some life in the targets department. This could be a sign of things to come. Furthermore, he plays the 6th, 12th, and 3rd best tight end matchups during the fantasy playoffs. So, if he gets going by the playoffs, you have a very, very strong matchup for the playoffs here, which is when we want our teams to be peaking. Yes. So, he is a priority stash to see if this continues, especially with that schedule.
You know, I was big on Theo Johnson coming out of college. He was someone that just jumped off the tape for me, and I was excited to see what he could do. So hopefully it's good signs of good things to come.
Low-end options. Drake May.
Drake May.
I saw a report a few days ago that Drake
He's
May
going to save the franchise.
that he could be getting the start here a few days ago, and it was confirmed today as of recording this. He's going to get the start this week. Very, very talented
You
prospect.
looked into your crystal ball for that one, didn't you?
Absolutely. We don't know if he does anything this week.
Yeah,
This season at all. It's a trash O-line. There's a lot going on here. It's not a great situation,
I was going to
but
say all of that.
Jaden Daniels didn't necessarily walk into a great situation either.
No, I mean,
Outside
I
of
don't
Terry
think...
McLaurin, it was kind of a void at wide receiver. He's got Zach Ertz, who's kind of dust at tight end. O-line wasn't super great last season, but a very talented quarterback elevates the offense. That just happens. Argue with a brick wall if you think he needs the perfect situation. He does not. So, if Drake May is as talented as we think he is as a prospect,
hope, right?
and he could come in and elevate this offense. This is why we've been saying to get
and at
Jalen
the very
Polk.
least, make it functional.
This is why we've been saying to get Jalen Polk on your rosters as a stash, as a late season surger. If Drake May ever got the start, he could really, really elevate this offense, and we think Polk would be the primary beneficiary. So this is a quality stash option. If you are hurting at quarterback, if you're not hurting at quarterback, stash him, see what happens. There's no guarantee he does anything this season, right, with the poor situation, but he could come in and shock the world just like Jaden Daniels did. Next up, Darius Slayton. Obviously had a very good week here. Saw a bump in usage with Neighbors out. 11 targets, which was a 35% target share. 8 receptions, 122 yards, and a touchdown. Solid output. I think this is what we can expect if Neighbors misses any more time, whether with this concussion or later down the line. Neighbors has been a pretty durable player for the most part throughout his collegiate career. I don't know if he misses more games here, but Darius Slayton clearly just had a very good game. If Neighbors were to miss more time, you expect that you can see more games like this with a offense that is clearly functioning with Daniel Jones at the helm. Not blowing you away, but we just beat the Seahawks. That's not a bad defense. And look, Brian Dable...
I will have words with anyone that thinks that was a
scrub win, right?
Just some scrub win, and it wasn't a big win. That was a pretty significant win for Daniel Jones, for Brian Dable and company, just for the Giants in general, to go into the Pacific Northwest, into the home of the 12, and get a win.
Absolutely. And I think even more importantly, we saw this offense functioning all season a little bit better with Neighbors. And so it was easy to be like, well, yeah, Malik Neighbors is awesome. But it was also good to see that without Malik Neighbors, they were still able to function at a high level. And I think that gives you some confidence with Daniel Jones, this offense moving forward. Brian Dable this season, he hasn't been running the offense. He hasn't been calling plays. This season, he took all that all over. He was running the offensive meetings all offseason, calling plays. You can clearly see there's a very big difference in this offense already. And Malik Neighbors has been awesome. Darius Slayton just had one of his best games of his career. Tyron Tracy was getting going. I think we're seeing a much more high-functioning offense here that can be at least league average. And so some of these players I think are good targets, and Darius Slayton is a fine play for me. Quality play if Neighbors were to miss any more time. Streaming options. Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams finally turning it on.
Slowly been playing better throughout the season. I never thought it was his fault. I mean, you have Shane Waldron as your OC. You're asking for your offense to be terrible. I don't know why people keep hiring Shane Waldron. He is, you know the meme where it's the Grim Reaper and he's like going door to door and it's killing people? Yeah. It's Shane Waldron as the Grim Reaper, and then the doors are just offenses. Yeah. Everywhere he goes offensively, he just kills the offense. Like I don't understand why people keep hiring him, but he's trash. It's led to a lot of issues with this offense, but Caleb Williams is getting going. Obviously, the offensive line has been horrible as well, but that's neither here nor there. Caleb Williams has been playing a little bit better. He is currently 44.6% rostered in ESPN leagues, so 55% of leagues he is available. He gets the Jaguars this week, which is the best QB matchup at the moment across the league, so should have a pretty good output. Mm-hmm. And Caleb Williams has had a top 11 and a top 6 finish in 2 of the last 3 weeks, so he's already been putting up QB1 numbers on occasion. I think this is a week where he does it again. If you need an option, Caleb Williams is great. Speaking of the Giants and Daniel Jones, this entire waiver wire video has just been the Giants Central.
Ah!
Daniel Jones draws a great matchup this week. He is only 13.8% rostered in leagues right now. He gets a top 5 QB matchup
Let's
this week
go.
in the Bengals.
Let's go.
And over the last 2 weeks, QBs have either over 50 yards rushing or a rushing touchdown. Dan Jones, I think, can get that done. He's obviously mobile.
He's got the
He's
wheels,
been playing
he's got the
better.
legs.
This offense has been playing better. I think Daniel Jones is a really, really good streaming option this week as well. He hasn't been playing bad, but I think this is the week where the fantasy output really kind of shows up as a streaming option. So, Daniel Jones, go get. And defensively, if I have to stream, I will be looking at the Colts at Titans. This is the best defensive matchup. Will Levis has played horribly. Please play your defenses against Will Levis. Texans at Patriots. New England has given up the 4th most sacks across the leagues. This is a top 5 defensive matchup from fantasy points per game perspective. Obviously, you have the QB change this week, but that might be a good thing because Drake May is a rookie at the end of the day, making his first career start.
There's bound to be mistakes.
Mistakes could be made, right?
Yep,
so
all that.
Texans are not a bad option. And finally, we have Eagles versus the Browns. Deshaun Watson has been giving up the 2nd most defensive fantasy points per game. So getting sacked, throwing interceptions, playing like hot caca. Eagles coming off a bye should be in a prime position here.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
are the defenses
Nice
I would
rested
be
up.
streaming.
Just licking their chops to get after the Browns there.
Absolutely.
All right, so there is your waiver wire week 6. Like we said, a lot more enticing options this week than we had last week. Make sure if you're that 3 a.m. hawk, go get your guys at 3 a.m. If not, look at your waiver wire order and prioritize your picks. Who's worth getting? Where I'm at? Do I have a chance of snagging some of these guys where I'm at? It's never a bad thing to take a shot in the dark, right? Depending on your waiver order, you might just come away with, someone you really wanted, despite the waiver order. So set those up, and hopefully you could come away with contributors that are going to help you out. So there go your nuggets, and again, if you enjoy the content, drop us a like below, drop us comments below, right? Let us know who you're playing this week. Make sure you subscribe so you're not missing any content. And we're here for you, right? The Tank Sinatra, Eddie Bravo, bringing you the nuggets that will hopefully win you your week and bring you closer to a fantasy championship. We signing out?
I think we're signing out.
Go get them, y'all.
See you next time.